Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Catherine Maloney, Director of Business Development for the Dutchess County Economic Development Corporation. We are pleased to present the spring webinar series, Building Successful Businesses, which will cover important aspects of your business and its growth. As you know, events like this can't take place without the support of generous sponsors. The sponsors for this series are New York Business Development Corporation, who complements conventional banking by working with banks to provide term loans for businesses in need. Their goal is to be more creative in their underwriting, making it easier to access capital. Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union is a not-for-profit, member-owned financial cooperative offering a full array of financial services to meet the needs of their members. MHV strongly advocates the philosophy of people helping people. Strategy Leaders has employed a team-based, systematic process dedicated to helping you get the support you need when you need it. Their system is designed to aid companies at owner level as well as field and back office. BBG&G Advertising in Public Relations distinguishes itself with the work they do before they do the work. It's their ability to identify your strengths and make them really work for you through marketing materials that speak to your customers. HB Biz covers business in Rockland, Dutchess, Putnam, Orange, and Ulster counties. HB Biz has received enormous praise for its inviting presentation and coverage of the Hudson Valley's exciting business growth. Debbie Giaquindo, Emerging Media, Marketing, and PR, helps small businesses integrate social media with traditional marketing to gain exposure and create new business. In one way or another, all of these sponsors have been instrumental in bringing you this webinar series, and I ask you to support them when you are able. I would now like to introduce Andy Gray of Strategy Leaders, who's moderating today's webinar.
Thank you very much, Kathy. It's great to be here. And isn't it nice that the sun is out?
Yay.
I'm ready to stop growing mushrooms in my yard. Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar series, Building a Successful Business. This is now the fourth in our series. And Larry, if you could change the slides for me, and let's go to the next slide, that would be terrific. We have had a wealth of information coming your way as we have gone through this series. And I know many of you have signed up for more than one of these events, and I'm pleased and want to thank you for your participation. We have one more webinar to go to, and the webinar today, if you'll go to the next slide, Larry, is Larry Hofelder, who is going to be talking about succession planning. Each of these webinars has been midday on Thursdays from 10:30 to 9, or 10:30 to 12. And Larry, if you go to the next slide, we have one more event coming up, which is Managing in a Changing Environment. This is going to be a live event where you'll get to meet all of the presenters in person, as well as I will be taking the group through an interactive session on dealing with the changing economy and the changing landscape that we're in. This will be at Santos Stefano's Winemaking Club on June 9th from 4 to 6 p.m., and you can register at thinkduchess.com. There is a nominal fee for attending, and I encourage everyone who is in the Hudson Valley to clear the time on their calendar to come to this one. I think it's going to be a great event. Larry, if you go to the next slide before we get started with Larry's presentation, we've got a little bit of housekeeping. We have on the GoToMeeting login for all of our participants, you'll see a chat box where you can type in questions to send in to us so that we can put them to Larry. We're not going to take live questions. We'll just take questions from the audience that have been typed in, so use that chat box. As with the other webinars, we will also be doing poll questions throughout the webinar. And those poll questions, we'll put the question up on the screen, and then we will ask participants to pick the answer that best meets their position on the question, and then we'll give you back some information on how everyone in the group answered the question. I do ask you to quickly respond, if you can, to the poll questions as they come up so that we can get to the recap and then get back on track with the webinar. And the webinars will be posted hopefully next week on thinkduchess.com. And that is another opportunity for anyone that you know who may not have been able to make it to this series to go and get information, or for you to find a particular piece of information that you wanted. So please use that as a resource, and please encourage your colleagues and business associates to do the same. And with that, Larry, let's get started with today's topic, which is succession planning. I'm going to turn it over to Larry Hofelder and let him do his introduction. So, Larry, let's go to the next slide and turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, thanks, Andy and Kathy. I really appreciate you having me to present here today. Joining me will be my associate, Dan Goodwin, who will give color commentary and also talk about different types of funding options which would help fund exit strategies later on. So, Dan, certainly add in any commentary you have as we go.
You got it, Larry. Thank you.
I don't need to reiterate that. You can all read. So I think for all of you, the thing you really need to understand is that, exiting your business is something that you probably will only do once or twice at the most in your lifetime, and that making a mistake in doing this can be extremely costly. So you really need to think about how you want to do it and plan it properly, because you won't have a second chance. Okay, so take that advice and put it under your thinking cap. The first step in coming up with some sort of a succession strategy or exit strategy is to identify certain things that are important to you. First question that you really need to identify and have some ideas on how you would like to achieve it is, what are my goals? Some people may say, well, I want to fund my retirement. Some people may say, I want to pass my business on to children. But you need to be very specific in defining them. You just can't say, well, I'll figure them out later. You really need to have an idea of what you want to accomplish and create a game plan to get you from where you are to where you want to be. What are my risks? Well, there are numerous risks. Something unexpected could happen. What happens when that happens? So you need to protect yourself and plan for it. Okay, and there's a lot of different strategies you can use to do that, but we'll talk about some of them later. Okay, what are the options in terms of exiting? Well, there's a number of those also. A lot of it will depend on what the current situation is. It'll depend on what your goals are and what your risks are. But you need to be flexible. You need to have the ability to adjust when you need to, because things change. If you made a plan today, 10 years from now, it may be very different. So you have to have the ability to be agile. How do I implement a plan? Well, in reality, you have to do it with a process. Okay, assessing the first three questions is a great way to start. But we'll talk a little bit more later about implementing and building a team to achieve the result that you're really looking to do. And the last one, when do I get started? Well, reality is you should be starting today. Not that you have to have in mind that you want to necessarily sell and how you want to do it or pass your business on to your children, but the idea of building value and creating an asset that's growing really starts today. And in terms of what Andy presented in the first presentation of this series, it really comes down to planning and having a strategy and having the ability to say, this is where I am, this is where I want to get to on a timeline in order to achieve what you're really looking to do. Okay. In terms of goals, okay, everybody's going to have different goals, and that's fine. The key is to customize your strategy to what your goals are. Some would say, hey, I want to provide income to fund the desired lifestyle, both while I'm working, but when I'm retired. Okay, and that's certainly very important. The last thing you want to do is get out of your business and then say, gee, I don't know how I'm going to afford to live the way I want to live. You need to build value to fund the retirement. Oftentimes people look at their business as the primary asset to generate income when they do actually exit. So you need to build as much value as possible. How do you do it? Some might say, I want to pass it to my children. Well, certainly that's a good thing to do in certain cases, but not every case. You really need to understand what the potential problems are in doing that and make sure before you actually do it that you've got it under control. Some may say, hey, I've had employees with me for years. I want them to benefit. It's an option, okay, but there are also risks in doing that. And certainly an outside buyer. Outside buyers are easier to negotiate with because you really don't know them, so you can really play hardball. These are things that we'll discuss a little bit further as we go. And, of course, ultimately, what you really want to do is maximize wealth that you're transferring to heirs. Okay, first survey question. Kathy, you want to
There we go.
take it?
It's up. So the first question, I'm sorry, Larry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The first survey question is, what is your greatest concern? So if all of the participants could answer one of these, we'd appreciate it, and we can go along quickly.
There are obviously, we're going to talk about a lot of things today, and, most people, their greatest concern is, I want to maximize the value, okay? And so, that, of course, is very, very important to most people, and, I want to build something that's going to still be around, 20, 30, 40 years ago, ahead, I'm sorry, not ago.